The United States government in the Fallout universe plays an important role in the events leading to and after the Great War. While not directly responsible for many important moments in the lore, they've always been pulling strings from behind the scenes. Most government bodies, including the last president, are unknown to the generations that came after the war. So today, I'm going over everything we know about the last president and his secret escape before the bombs fell. Who was the president? The last president's identity is shrouded in mystery, and most documents and terminals mention him as the president or commander-in-chief. They also use he/him pronouns, so at least we know he was a man. The only clue we have about the president's name comes from a letter found in Fallout 76. We see the correspondence in the governor's office of the Charleston Capitol building. In this letter, the president's office praises Governor Evans of the Appalachian Territory for their efforts to maintain the supply chain of vital materials such as steel and coal for the war effort, and invites them to an upcoming summit taking place in the region. At the bottom of the page, we can see the faded signature of the president, and the name starts with DI. I searched some name databases as I couldn't think of any common male names starting with D. Many unique and uncommon names begin with these letters, and some of the more popular ones, such as Dimitri or Diego, are from various ethnic cultures. Obviously, this is not a lot to go on, but it can hint at the last president's background and family history. This faded signature was removed from the game with the Wastelanders update, but was added back in again in the Skyline Valley patch. It seems like even Bethesda isn't sure if they want to commit to this breadcrumb of a clue about the last president, but at least for now, the first two letters of his name are considered canon. The rest of the executive branch of the government, much like the president, is mostly unknown. But there are a few clues about some of the cabinet members that can give us more insight into the people closest to the president before the Great War. The Secretary of Defense was only mentioned in the same letter with the president's faded signature, as it was a joint letter about the armed forces and the war effort. On October 23, 2077, the day the bombs fell, the Secretary of the Interior and the Secretary of the Treasury were alarmed by the cabinet nuclear alarm system of the incoming Chinese warheads. They both rushed to the White Spring Congressional Bunker, along with some other government officials. The Secretary of the Interior, who was next in the chain of command in the president's absence, passed away from his injuries in the medbay. The remaining government officials now had to report to the Secretary of the Treasury following the presidential line of succession, but soon after, he mysteriously passed away as well. The Secretary of Agriculture, Thomas Eckhart, notified the members of the bunker that he had passed away due to radiation poisoning. Thomas Eckhart, the only remaining cabinet member in the bunker, assumed leadership. But who was Thomas Eckhart? Thomas Eckhart, the Secretary of Agriculture, is the most well-known and documented member of the cabinet. He played a major role in the events of Fallout 76 and was instrumental in shaping the post-war enclave in the Appalachian region. Eckhart rose to political power due to his ardent anti-communism and nationalism before the war. He was a vocal promoter of a preemptive nuclear strike against China, but he was told to focus on his duties as the Secretary of Agriculture by higher power. He was, however, accepted into the Enclave, a shadowy governmental organization that consisted of powerful politicians, military leaders, and corporate CEOs. After the war, he rose to power within the White Spring Bunker through manipulation and the removal of his opposition. He wanted a retaliatory nuclear strike against China, but others wanted to focus on helping the citizens and start rebuilding America. He would ask the remaining officials to vote on the next steps, but kill those who voted against him. To launch a nuclear strike against China, he needed a general with security clearance, a DEFCON Alert Level 1, and the Presidential Nuclear Launch Codes. Since he had killed the previous generals who opposed him, he promoted Colonel Santiago. But once she started to disagree with him too, he put her in a medically induced coma to use her clearance once needed. He experimented with radiation and the FEV virus, creating super mutants and scorched beasts to try and raise the threat level by unleashing these monsters across Appalachia.
How dangerous is it?
We're still establishing that, sir. Its mere presence seems to contaminate the immediate surroundings with a...
Can we make more?
Sir?
Can we reproduce this for the purpose of additional study?
With all due respect, sir, this potentially represents a grave threat to the personnel on site. And I'm not sure if this is...
I'm not asking for concerns. I want results. Do whatever you have to do. Keep this thing, study it, and report all your findings directly to me. Are we clear? And keep it off-site. Where you found it, preferably. One of those old AMS mining complexes, yes?
Yes, sir.
And for now, let's not burden any of the officer corps with worrying about this. Understood?
He also rigged the election polls and won the presidency. He ruled the Appalachian branch of the Enclave for 3 years, and as he was getting closer to his goals, General Santiago's loyalists revolted against him. They freed her and tried to stop Eckhart, but ultimately, Modus, the AI system of the bunker, malfunctioned, resulting in the death of all human members of the Enclave. The isolation and lack of reliable communication post-war allowed Eckhart to reign with minimal opposition from the rest of the remaining executive branch, which raises the question, where was the president during all of this? And what is his relationship to Eckhart and the Enclave? Before the Great War, the Enclave was an unofficial, shadowy government of powerful individuals from across the United States. The organization included the president and the Joint Chiefs of Staff, notable scientists and military leaders, and wealthy industrialists and company leaders. As the tensions between the United States and China rose, the Enclave invested in many contingency plans and constructed a few shelters for the members of the organization. White Springs Congressional Bunker, Poseidon Oil Rig, Raven Rock, and Kovacs Muldoon Platform were among these shelters. They also used Vault-Tec and its network of underground shelters to prepare for performing various experiments and monitoring the survivors in the event of nuclear annihilation. The presence of the Enclave was a big conspiracy theory before the war, but knowing the actual details after everything happened, people were right to be paranoid about it. The Enclave is a major faction in the Fallout universe, and discussing every detail about it takes multiple videos on its own. So let's go back to the President of the United States and how his connection to the Enclave led to his escape before the war. We know the president and some of the members of the cabinet were members of the Enclave. From months before the war until the day the bombs fell, they took shelter in various locations across the country. These disappearances were definitely noticed by the general public and caused many questions and worries across the board. What we don't know is what they were doing during these months. The president, as the commander-in-chief, is often expected to address the people during such tensions and inform them of the government's actions and preparations for the highly speculated nuclear confrontation. But considering his involvement with the Enclave and the organization's plans for the aftermath of the war, maybe his silence and absence speak louder than any words he could have given. More than 6 months before the war, the president disbanded the White House press corps. This caused the media and journalists to lose access to the executive branch, shrouding the president and his cabinet in a veil for a long time. The lack of other media presence or official statements raised a lot of questions among the public. The White House had been almost empty for the whole duration, with just low-ranking staff and manual workers keeping up the establishment. All of this while tensions and anxiety over nuclear war were at an all-time high. The main speculation was that the president and his cabinet were staying at Raven Rock, or Site R as it was known before the Great War. Raven Rock was a military base and fallout shelter in the northwest of Capitol Wasteland, in the region of Pennsylvania. After the war, it became the main base of operation for the Enclave in the region. The base's connection to the rumored Enclave and its features as a fallout shelter and suitable command base in war made this a popular theory among journalists. While there was no confirmation, the president was thought to be staying at the facility for the duration of his disappearance. The rest of the president's cabinet was also missing, with only a few members having public appearances during this time. Raven Rock was the main suspected location of the president and some of his staff for months, until an investigative journalist's report in the Boston Bugle put the rumors to rest and revealed the true location of the president. The article that revealed the president's true location was written by Mags Vecchio, a Boston Bugle staff writer, shortly before the bombs fell. The article can be found in the Boston Bugle Building's terminals in Fallout 4. The report goes over the vacancy of the White House for the past 6 months, and the assumption that the president and his cabinet were operating out of the Raven Rock facility. But the journalist's investigation has revealed they have not visited Raven Rock in over a year. So, where was the president? The reporter's investigation reveals even more answers. Based on the testimony of a high-ranking anonymous source, the president and his staff were leading the country from a Poseidon Oil Rig off the coast of San Francisco. This seems like a strange location, not suited for a command base during such a tense time. But the other piece of information that is worrying is the acknowledgement of the anonymous source that this oil rig's official designation is Control Station Enclave. This is the first confirmation of the existence of the Enclave before the war, a militarized branch of the government that is set to take control of the country in the event of a nuclear war. This is a chilling revelation just days before the Great War. It confirms to the public that their leaders are preparing for a nuclear fallout, and that a highly influential and powerful shadowy organization is set to take control of the United States. The chaos of such a report can be devastating in the highly controlled media and propaganda of the pre-war US in the Fallout universe, and the other articles in Boston Bugle terminals showcase just that. Many of the reports found leading up to the war depict the rising tensions between the two superpowers, China and the United States, and the riots and chaos on the streets of Boston. It's terrifying to imagine having all the rumors of an upcoming nuclear fallout and secret governmental organization confirmed in a report by a legitimate outlet. We see the remains of many makeshift shelters and accommodations made by people before the bombs fell throughout the games, and we can assume Mags Vecchio's investigative work and journalistic integrity, at the very least, had helped save some lives in the immediate aftermath of the apocalyptic war. Another piece of journalistic expose that helped in confirming the rumors of the Enclave was the interview of Senator Sam Blackwell with Quinn Carter of the Charleston Herald newspaper. We can find a copy of this interview in the White Spring bunker in Fallout 76. To join the Enclave before the war, one had to show their loyalty and beliefs aligned with the organization and had enough wealth or influence to help their cause before they would be invited. Sam Blackwell, a previous Union activist and now a senator of the Appalachian region who pushed for peace negotiations with China, would never be invited to or be notified of the Enclave's existence. He, however, realized traces of misallocated budgets and clues that pointed to the existence of the shadow government. He started to investigate the matter and started supporting the separatist group, the Free States, who wanted to secede from the United States. His investigations led him to clash directly with the Secretary of Agriculture, Thomas Eckhart, and by now, we know Eckhart did not handle confrontations in a civil manner. To silence Sam Blackwell, Eckhart kidnapped his 17-year-old daughter. Her missing case made local news, with the police force and civilians mobilizing to help the popular senator in the search for his daughter. We don't know the fate of her, but shortly after, Senator Blackwell disappeared from the public eye, dropping his investigations into the Enclave and abandoning his duties as a senator. However, sometime before the war, Quinn Carter, a reporter for the Charleston Herald, received an anonymous letter promising an interview with the missing senator.
All right, it's recording. Thank you again for reaching out to me. I can't tell you how shocked I was to find out your letter was the real deal.
Of course, Miss Carter. Hope the trek wasn't too arduous.
It was an experience. Not a lot of my interviews start with a bag over my head. Just glad it didn't end up being a prank, I suppose.
I apologize for that.
Despite suspicions surrounding this strange letter, Carter followed through and actually sat down with the senator in an undisclosed location to conduct the interview. During the interview, Blackwell addresses the public, warning them about a secret cabal of powerful individuals who control American lives.
Miss Carter. But I've since realized that I've left a lot of other people I care about in grave danger. I was hoping you could help me correct that.
What are you talking about, Senator?
There are sinister forces at work in the halls of government.
He doesn't mention the organization of Enclave by name, but his statements clearly point to the rumored entity. He clarifies how these sinister forces view the American people as nothing but pawns in their own sick games. His final advice for the citizens is to head for the wilderness, to escape from the constant surveillance of the Enclave, and hope that they can survive the upcoming nuclear war. He finishes his interview by officially resigning from his position as a senator and leaves the reporter.
You never resigned as senator. Is that something you're planning to do?
I am.
Blackwell has been painted by the media as a grieving father on the cusp of a mental breakdown, so the overly paranoid and doomsaying statements could be interpreted as conspiratorial rambling. The reporter does mention how serene and calm the senator looks during the interview, trying to push back against some of those claims and give validity to his warnings. Ultimately, it's unclear how much each of these reports was accepted as fact by the general public. We often see how political and media bias play out in real life. People who were already doubtful of the United States government were validated in their paranoia, and those who believed in the state-controlled media viewed these articles as more unproven conspiracy theories. Even though the information around the president and his cabinet is sparse, we have enough clues to paint a clearer picture of the final months before the war. About 6 months before the bombs fell, the White House press corps was unofficially disbanded. This was done in an effort to hide the presence of the Enclave and the executive branch's dealings with the shadow government as long as possible. The president and his cabinet's disappearance started multiple rumors and speculations, but it bought them enough time. During this time, the Enclave, with the help of the president and multiple members of the cabinet, redoubled their efforts in constructing vaults and shelters, both to ensure their own survival and to run experiments on people who would turn to these vaults for shelter. The Enclave did not want to launch the first nukes against China, but they weren't trying to avoid a nuclear conflict either. The president and some of his cabinet escaped to various fallout shelters across the globe in preparation for nuclear annihilation. The president's location was rumored to be at the military base in Pennsylvania, Raven Rock. But only a week before the war, a Boston Bugle report revealed his true location at the Poseidon Oil Rig off the coast of San Francisco and confirmed the existence of the Enclave. In the morning of October 23, 2077, the president and his cabinet were alerted to the nuclear missiles heading to the United States. The remaining members who were not already in a designated shelter or vault rushed to the closest available facility. At 9:26 in the morning, in response to the incoming Chinese ICBMs, the presidential launch codes were used to fire retaliatory strikes against China. And that is the last we know of the president's location and actions in the moments before the bombs fell. He provided the nuclear launch codes from the control station Enclave, the Poseidon Oil Rig. There is no other information regarding his actions after the war or his possible involvement in the post-war events of the Enclave and the United States. After the war, the Enclave established itself as the continuation of the United States government. The Poseidon Oil Rig became the faction's main base for more than 150 years. The last president of the United States was obviously no longer in the base when the Chosen One destroyed the Enclave base in the year 2242 during the events of Fallout 2. We don't know if the president was a member of the Enclave before his election or if he was invited into its ranks after. Regardless, he became an instrumental part of the organization, helping orchestrate the event that led to the nuclear fallout and the atrocities committed by Vault-Tec and the Enclave after the war. He escaped the public eye and his responsibilities as the elected leader of the country to hide inside a fallout shelter for more than 6 months. He and members of his cabinet actively worked against the interests of the people they were supposed to serve to ensure the safety and survival of rich and powerful individuals who were part of the Enclave. Even though we don't know much about the last president of the United States in the Fallout universe, there is enough evidence to see the domino effect his actions set off. We don't know who he is, what his true beliefs and goals were, but he escaped to safety while leaving the American people to fend for themselves in the face of nuclear apocalypse. If you enjoyed this video and want to see what actually happened to the Chosen One, click the video on screen